Memphis announced that John Morant won't play tonight because of his hand.
Do you know who
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second hour of the Full Court Press. Jason Walker, Eric Frandsen, here on a Wednesday. At least I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday.
I have to keep checking.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. Started off the show, I was like, it's Tuesday, Wednesday? I'm not sure. But
yeah, when we were coming back from Las Vegas yesterday, as we got into, just as we were getting into Nephi, it was really. Well, actually, it was south of Nephi. Anyway, somewhere in Juab County. It was really windy and really dusty. And it was overcast. And as we're driving through the Wasatch Front, it just had this feeling like we were coming into town like on a Sunday night for some reason. It just felt, we all commented on, we all felt the same way. It's kind of a weird week.
yes.
Then I roll into work today thinking, kind of feeling for me like it's a Monday because it's my first day in the office for the week. And it's like, oh, half my week's already gone.
Already halfway to Friday.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about, we talked about some transfer news. Rylan Jones entered the transfer portal. We've talked a bit about that. Talked about Utah State basketball. At the end of the first segment of the first hour, I teased something and then I forgot about it. Went back and looked and replayed the audio, so now we remember and have written it down. We're going to put it off a second because we're going to continue a conversation from last hour, especially because we have text coming in about it. We were talking about charges in basketball. I'm kind of in favor of letting them just get phased out, use rules to try and just disincentivize people to keep doing charges and make it so that a dangerous play isn't part of basketball. And just make players play defense. Just like we want players to not foul hunt on offense, I don't want defensive players to foul hunt on defense. Want guys to play basketball. I know, Eric seems to disagree with me, and Ajay very much disagreed with me. So apparently I'm like the only person in the world who doesn't like this play. But we're going to go to the text line. I got to go to some of the texts that were on this topic. So we have some that are still talking about the transfer portal. 5001. Oh, no, he's talking about the portal too. Dang it. I guess there's only like two players. There are two texters who talked about it. Where 4781, he says, just make a rule that you can't go up for a dunk more than a foot out of the restricted area. I guess. Just make another circle, maybe make the restricted circle bigger and say you can't go for a dunk. If you jump from outside this, maybe that would help. Do you think that would be a better way? Because
maybe. I mean, I could maybe live with that.
Because then offensive players aren't out of control by the time they get to the place where people are drawing charges.
But one of the hardest plays to defend is when an offensive player is coming downhill. He already picks up some speed, and he's rolling to the basket. And if you're going to step in front of him, try to get him off track.
Well, the same thing.
There's going to be contact.
The same thing that's allowing you to step in front of them and maintain your position. Just go up and be vertical. Make them go around you. And if they barrel into you, it's just not a foul on anybody. Just defend the shot. And that's what it really just needs to be. Instead of standing there like a bump on a log, go up and try and block the shot.
But if you're a guard who sometimes gets pulled down into the paint on a switch or you're trailing your defender, and there's some guards who play pretty solid defense actually in the paint, and then you've got a bigger player coming at you, you can't challenge the shot. Your best bet to play defense is to cut off his path.
Then get good.
Just get good.
Is it unfair? Should I tell 7-footers when they're trying to block a shot of a 6'3" guard? Oh, wait a second, you're too tall. Stand on your knees and block the guy's shot instead.
There's no penalty for an offensive player to just shed a defender out of his way and take it to the hoop.
Depends how he sheds him. If he uses a forearm, that's an offensive foul. If he gets by his defender legally, yeah, he's kind of earned the right to go downhill toward the basket. And the help defense should have to suffer the consequences of the fact that they couldn't play defense.
And the anchor defensive player trying to stand his ground to cut off his path.
And he's allowed to stand his ground.
If he just gets run over, sorry.
You're not going to get run over if you're
no
just
foul.
playing defense.
You got put on your butt, but...
How often does that happen when somebody actually goes up to defend a shot? That they end up on their butt? How often does that actually happen? It does.
It does. It happens.
But not nearly as, like, the reason people end up on their butt is because, like LeBron James, when J.J. Barea ran into him one time, looked like he got shot by a bazooka. That's not genuine.
Yeah, there is a little, not a little. I mean, there's a lot of acting that goes on to sell the contact.
Like, when I go play basketball, like, I go there, and when somebody drives to the basket, I stand there, and I don't jump because I don't really jump anymore when I play basketball. I just go straight up. They run into me. I don't get barreled over. Yeah, they might run into me with some contact, but I just go straight up, and that's how I defend the shots. And it's sometimes effective. I'm not very tall, so it's like, it's a bit of an anecdotal thing, but it's just like, just play defense. And if you play defense, and mind you, and this is something that I had to kind of explain to Ajay, is defenses are at a disadvantage where they're getting called for fouls more than they should. And so you need to then train referees to give more leeway to defenses. Don't call them for fouls. Because I talk about this in the Mountain West, where if you took away charges in the Mountain West, you just wouldn't be allowed to play defense in the paint, because the Mountain West you're not allowed to challenge shots.
I will concede that the charge or block, I mean, that was, I can't think of the guy's name now. Guy used to play for the Suns, played college ball at Kentucky, basketball player.
Booker?
No, let's go back even further. Shoot, I can't think of his name. Anyway, he became famous again because he kept posting these little short videos, and he would just ask, block or charge? It'd be non-basketball related.
Rex Chapman?
Yes, thank you, Rex Chapman. Because it is such a subjective call for a lot of cases. Now, in instant replay, we can be more sure on it, but that only gets reviewed probably a quarter of the time or less. And so it is very subjective. In one moment it may be a charge, and the next moment it will be called a block. So I will concede that it is probably that play seems to be the most subject to just whoever is reffing the game and his or her interpretation.
Yeah, when it's also the most like, if you look at any call you can make in any refereeing in any sport, it is the most impossible. Because if you're an NBA referee, you have to look at where the defender's feet are. You have to look at the offensive player's feet, because you have to know when they jumped into the air.
Right, when are they initiating their jump?
Yeah, because if they initiate their jump and they're in the air before the defender gets set.
Or even not necessarily their jump, just their path.
Yeah. Well, I said their path and the jump. Because if the offensive player is in the air before the defender gets set, it's automatically a block. Doesn't matter if he jumps 5 feet before he runs into him, it's still a block. Because offensive player can't change their path once they go in the air.
Right.
So the defender has to get set before the offensive player jumps. And in the NBA and college, there's the charge circle. You have to be aware of that. It's not the case in high school, but so you have to watch the defender's feet. And, then you got to watch up top for, any fouls that may occur up there. Does the offensive player elbow the defender in the face and whatnot? And, there's 3 different places you have to be looking as an official to make the call. And it's just impossible for them to make the call properly. Just consistently. Like how many times you see in college and the NBA, a charge gets called and the dude's heels were on the charge circle. Because the referee, that was the spot that he couldn't look at. He was looking at other places. And he couldn't make the call accurately because he doesn't have 3 sets of eyes. And so it just goes to more the fact that the charge just ends up being the dumbest play in basketball because it's a subjective foul call. It's dangerous. And it involves somebody who's not really trying to play the game, but is just trying to cheese their way out of doing their job. So I just don't like it.
Yeah, I understand those points, but I also am concerned about taking away more from just taking more defense away from the game. And I know people like to see points and dunks and high-flying stuff, but we saw that the All-Star game, it was all offense, no defense, and it got boring, and people stopped watching. And that's what the All-Star game has been the last few years, and its ratings continue to decline. And I don't think people want to watch that every night. So it has to be some level of ability to allow your people on defense to play defense.
Okay, but here's the thing I keep going back to. I want them to play defense. And the thing is, if they get in position for a charge, they can get in position to put their hands in the air and jump. And that's what I want them to do. Instead of standing there like a bump on a log and waiting for contact, actually play defense. Because you're acting like if I say we can't draw charges, that nobody's going to play defense anymore. It's going to be like the All-Star game.
No.
What they're going to do instead of drawing charges is jump. Go for the block. And I understand if a 6'3" guard, he's not going to be able to do that.
Right.
But there are some athletic guards who are able to try that sometimes. And even at the college level where the height difference isn't as extreme as it can be in the NBA. Like, people are just going to start actually playing defense more often instead of just trying to draw charges and causing injuries.
I'm not saying they're going to stop playing defense altogether. It just takes away another tool in your toolkit, in your ability to try to stop an offensive player.
By forcing you to use a different part of your toolkit. I'm not, they're still going to be able to defend the paint. They're just going to have to actually defend the paint. And like I said, a big concession that you're going to have to make with referee training is stop calling fouls every time there's contact in the paint on the defender. Because defenders are getting hosed. That's why charges become so much more prevalent, because if they go up for a block, they get called for a foul. So it's why they draw a charge, because that's the more effective option. It's why Anthony Davis, again, a guy who had like a foot on Ja Morant, at least in terms of standing reach, went for a charge draw instead of a block. So if you're training referees to stop doing that, stop calling defenders for every little tiny thing they do to an offensive player, then you get them away from doing charges, which is said dangerous, unnecessary, stupid, not even playing basketball. Force defenders to play defense and allow them to play defense. Then everything just gets better.
Okay, number of texts on this topic. 4446. Offense would just run through players then. They can already carry the ball and push off without consequences. Not necessarily push off. That is a foul, but it doesn't get called as often as it probably should.
The one worry you would have is, does a player just run it at 1,000 miles an hour and barrel into a defensive player? Well, for one, and you would worry that, you want to call an offensive player if he does that. And that was generally the point of a charge to begin with, is an out-of-control player running full speed into a defender should be called for a foul. Well, if a defender plays his cards right and he sees a player going at 1,000 miles an hour, just defend the shot all right and find me a player who is going that fast and manages to finish the shot. Like a lot of times, when you see players that are out of control and a player does decide to contest the shot, what happens is the offensive player throws up a wild shot and the defense gets the rebound.
Well, the concern really is when players who are coming downhill leave their feet. Because once you're in the air, you can get knocked off course, and it can be a tragic fall. It can be bad news, right? And I get that point. But I still don't see why there's still not an opportunity to try to do something to prevent the player from getting free access to the hoop.
Defend the shot.
Well, if you're undersized, then you're out of luck.
Yeah, you are out of luck. I'm sorry. Like I said, are we going to let 6-foot players get free shots at the hoop just because they're short?
That's true.
If you're short, you have a disadvantage in the paint. Live with it.
All right, a couple more texts. 6476. Okay, no charge in the paint then. Do you say no foul in the paint if offense initiates contact by your reasoning?
Yeah.
And then also they are not really going for a shot.
Yeah, don't call a foul on the defender if he's not, like I said, and that's something where you have to train referees because they do call that too much. And that's where people say you have to have charges because otherwise they're going to get called for a foul. My thought is, hey, if you take away the charge, you do need to train, referees to, I'm saying, force defenders to play defense by not giving them the charge as the option, and then train the referees to let them play defense by not calling a foul every time contact ever happens. Like when I watched Graham E.K. playing, basketball, literally no one was allowed to guard Graham E.K. because if you did, you were called for a foul. Like, let defenders play defense.
A couple more texts. Actually, a first-timer here, 3442. This is my first time texting into the show, and the only reason I am is because this is the worst take or idea I've ever heard. The fault for injury is in the case of charges is on the offensive player for trying to score and jump through or over the defender in legal guarding position. Getting rid of charges down low would only increase fouls for the offensive players because it is much more difficult to not foul someone when attempting a block. I also think this gets rid of the need to be in legal guarding position.
Well, you'd still need to be in legal guarding position because then you commit a foul if you're not in legal guarding position. Like, my point is just play defense. Go up and contest
And when you
shot.
say that, you're meaning body them up, arms out, try to prevent their path.
Like when you, so like, let's
double
say,
teaming, switching. You keep saying just play defense, allow them to play defense. But what exactly do you mean by that? Because being in position to cut off their path to the hoop is also playing defense.
So in terms of charges, what the kind of defense we're talking about is help defense. So a rim protector, sometimes it's a guard because maybe it's a wing or sometimes even a center who's out on the perimeter. Somebody's usually beating their man and they're driving down the paint. And so the help defense comes. So let's say a lot of times it's the center because that's their job. Rudy Gobert and Amish Keta, those guys that protect the rim that we've seen around here. They go in, guards sometimes instead of trying to, do rim protection like a Rudy Gobert would, they get in position and they draw a charge. For an actual rim protector, they'll get in front of the player. They will get between the player and the basket typically, and they'll jump up and they'll try and block the shot. And so that's the thing. When you're drawing a charge, you're getting in front of a player and you're cutting off access. The problem is you're not defending beyond that. You're just standing there. My point is, if you're able to get in position to draw a charge, you can get in position to play defense. And if you get into position to play defense, go up and contest, maintain verticality, don't smack them on the arm, don't jump into them and commit a foul that way. If you establish legal guarding position and contest the shot, you don't get called for a foul. You're defending the player's shot by denying them access to the basket. Legal defense, legal guarding position, and yeah. You have defense going up against offense. May the best man win.
Thanks for the text 3442. Welcome to the club. Glad it took you a while to text in, but we're glad to have you.
Even if it is to vehemently disagree with you.
9938. Defenses aren't going to roll out the red carpet to an open lane to the basket.
And they shouldn't. Get up there, get in front of them, and then play defense once you get there. Because like I said, whenever you're drawing a charge, you've beaten the offensive player to the spot. Now actually do something with that legal guarding position you've established. Don't just fall over and try and draw a charge. Get up there and try and defend the shot.
You can still cut off their lane or get in their path, but you have to still try to defend them as they're going.
Yeah, because like I said,
don't stand still and
the whole point of
the
this.
deck.
The whole point of this, and the two sides of this is force defenders to play defense by not saying, okay, you can just stand there and let them run over you, and then give concessions to the defense in terms of rules and in terms of interpretation of rules to allow them to play defense. Because I don't want the offensive players to just roll in there and dunk over and over. What I want is to see actual contests at the rim. Now, I actually really love seeing great contests at the rim. It's weirdly satisfying to me to watch. Because I've gotten to watch Rudy Gobert, now Walker Kessler, Amish Keta here at Utah State, where they play good defense, they contest, it's clean, hands up, force a miss, grab the rebound. It's wonderful. It's great basketball. it's not nearly as satisfying as, oh, yeah, he drew a charge. Oh, okay. It was a good play. He should have done that because that's a smart basketball play. Doesn't feel clean at all.
People cheer for charges. When it's your guy who's drawing a charge?
Yeah, because it's a positive thing for you. It doesn't mean it's
an exciting play.
It's exciting because it's something that goes in your favor. But, like, it just doesn't feel like you're actually playing basketball. You're just, you're just manipulating the rules.
All right, a couple more texts on this. 8003. If you have guys jumping vertically to block a shot with a guy coming at them, knowing there is now ramifications for making contact with the defensive player, in my opinion, more defenders are going to get railroaded. Yeah, I agree. I think this takes away some defensive incentive, and you're at a disadvantage. If a player is downhill, they're coming at you, and you have to body them up somehow or cut off their access, but they can still run over you, but you're not going to get called for a charge. So they're still just going to run right at you. There's going to be more players attacking the rim.
But if you run
with
with too much momentum, because it's not like players are going to suddenly run faster and barrel into you. Because if you run too fast, you're not going to make the shot. Because if you have too much momentum, you're out of control and you can't shoot the ball effectively. So it's not like players are going to suddenly run twice as fast and just barrel into defenders, and that's going to be their offense. Because if they do that, they can't make the shot because they don't have the control. And I get, like, you want to be able to take advantage of an offensive player who's out of control by drawing a foul. And I get that. And that is something that would be taken away that isn't going to feel fair. But there's some give and take with this. You're taking away something that is dangerous in a lot of ways. And, again, just getting people to play basketball again. And the thing is...
Well, this isn't a modern rule. I mean, this charges and blocks have been around forever.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we don't have to try to present this as this is some new cheating a system. This is the system, and this is how it's been for a long time.
Gotten rid of things in the past. The NFL keeps doing it.
Oh, that's true. I mean, baseball's doing a lot of tweaking too.
In the name of player safety.
That's true. That's true. But I think the implication or
if we do things
ramification is that you have more players maybe a little bit out of control just attacking the rim.
If they're out of control, they're not going to make the shot.
And
that's their punishment. If they're out of control and they just fly up in the air, they're going to miss the shot. And that's their punishment. Stay in control when you go to the basket. And the defense, and you act like there's no other way to contest a shot without drawing a charge. What do people do all the time in basketball when somebody goes to the lane? They get up in front of them, and they go up, and they stay vertical, and they try and block the shot. It's what people do. That's how you play defense. And I want them to do that, not just stand there.
All right, 1570. A couple of texts here. I don't know if we've read all of these. If I repeat them, forgive me. Offensive fouls should be reviewable all the time, and if it's determined that you flopped, then it should be a technical foul. If you take away the charge, you're just allowing the offensive player to go to the basket completely out of control with no repercussions. Jason, you're talking about perfect scenarios in your argument. Nobody is perfect, and you're forgetting about superstar treatment. This is the worst take I've ever heard. Also, if they are in control, then they wouldn't draw the charge or get injured. They usually only draw the charge when they're out of control.
Like I say, when they're out of control, you're just not calling a foul because the defense plays defense. And when you're out of control, you're going to miss the shot. That's your punishment. Stay in control.
9938. So Jason wants to bring back 80s NBA basketball, Pistons bad boy basketball.
I just want them to play basketball. Play defense. These guys are actually capable of it. You act like people don't know how to defend shots at the rim. People do it all the time.
Well, I think it's about maybe it's more about where that what do they call it, the arc under the hoop?
The charge circle.
Charge circle. Maybe it's about just expanding that. So,
like I said, make the charge circle the paint. Because again,
that may be a little bit too far.
Yeah, the shape of the paint is the wrong shape, but that's like the general idea I'm looking at is expand it, make it bigger.
Because I think the real question or the concern is when a player is launching to go in the air. And once they're in the air, that's where danger can happen. Really significant bad stuff.
Yeah.
But you can still draw a charge. You can draw a charge at midcourt.
Yeah, offensive fouls should still be able to be called just about anywhere. When a guy pushes off, call him for it. He can't do that. If you run a guy who's screening somebody over, call it. You can't do that. But I don't want guys just cheaply standing underneath the basket just trying to draw a foul that way. And that's why I think, expanding the charge circle to something, making the paint a charge circle, like I said, I have to say that every time I bring it up, it doesn't work because it's the wrong shape. So you'd have to play with that a little bit.
Right, because there's nothing coming from the sidelines.
Yeah, because you can still, with how athletic NBA players are, they can jump from outside the paint and cause those kind of problems. So you'd have to play with the shape of maybe just make the charge circle enormous. But like I said, it's the whole point of this is just making players play defense. And I'm clearly on the wrong side of the popular argument of all this. But
no, they're
because you keep acting like players are just going to be out of control and they're going to draw fouls just every time they're out of control. Because that's the worry. And if you just got rid of a charge, the way the game is called now, all the reactions on the text line would be right, because it would be screwing over the defense. It would be hurting them. It would be a bad thing. But that's why I say you have to then give the concession to the defense to allow them to play defense. Like I said, and people, they keep saying, an out-of-control offensive player. I've said it 2 times and I'll say it a 3rd time. An out-of-control player doesn't make the shot. So just no foul, the defender plays his defense, or if the player's out of control, don't get in contact with him. Don't run into him. Protect the paint.
Well, it's hard to determine what is an out-of-control player versus somebody who's just coming down with a head of steam. And I think that the NBA, we've been seeing this since the mid-'90s, late 90s especially. The NBA has been giving more leeway to offensive players than defensive players.
Yeah, and
there's no more hand check.
Yeah.
You can't body a guy up like you used to be able to. And there's just a lot of different things that the NBA is doing to give more advantage to the offensive player than the defensive player.
Yeah, and that's why if you were to get, because that's why the charge works so much now, is because it's one of the few things you can do in a lot of cases, because refs aren't letting you play defense at the rim. So you have to give that concession back if you take away charges, or do some legislation with charge circles and things like that. You need to give back to the defense, otherwise it will be unfair. But again, that's the whole point of this. Make defense play defense instead of drawing charges, and then allow them to play defense. So if an out-of-control player barrels into the paint, go up straight, play legal defense, and the player's probably going to miss the shot because you're playing good defense and they're out of the control and aren't going to get a clean shot off.
And I don't disagree with that. My point is before that, to the point of the launch. You're talking about what happens at the rim, and I'm talking about more about what happens 5, 6, 7 feet away from there, and when he's on his angle towards the hoop. But we got a bunch more texts coming through. We're overdue for a timeout here at the Full Court Press. We need to take that. More topics as well we want to get into, but love the feedback that's coming in. 435-339-0321.
Rely now on a York Affinity Premium Comfort System to keep your home cool and comfortable. The new Affinity systems are smarter and more connected and more efficient than ever before. And you can cut your energy costs by as much as 50%. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, to schedule a free system evaluation. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning showroom is west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products, including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com. That's CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
Don't get caught without power to your home or business. This is Tyler with Golden Spike Electric. We offer Generac backup generators to keep your home or business warm, avoiding frozen pipes, loss of valuable food, or even a flooded basement. Golden Spike Electric is certified and factory trained, so you know it will be installed right and properly maintained. Contact Golden Spike Electric so you'll never be without power again. Online at gsegenerators.com. We also service other brands, Golden Spike Electric and Generac, power you can count on.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain climb. This is Lance Zollinger, president at Cache Valley Bank. To conquer the mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
This is The Herd.
Attention listeners.
With Colin Cowherd.
Kim Mulkey is the coach of LSU. People think she's obnoxious, and I would admit she does dress like a disco ball. But my entire life, fans support male coaches who are schmucks, who bully. Well, her players love Kim Mulkey when she gets in the book deal.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
All right, welcome back. Cooling down after this is a topic that I'm on the. I'm just standing alone. It's like that meme from the one from like Tangled, where the guy's like standing, all the swords are pointing at him. I'm just like, this is my take, and I think in the end we all kind of agree that we just want people to, like I said, it's playing basketball. We hate the fact that offensive players have way too much leeway to do whatever they want, and I'm, at least on its face, proposing that the offensive players get to do more, which I can understand people don't want, because I don't want that either. But my end goal, and I hope we can all appreciate that, is, even if you disagree with me, is I want basketball to be better, and I want more actual basketball to be played, and less rule cheesing.
Yeah, well, and I don't think any of us want what we saw in the All-Star game to be the norm.
No,
that's not good.
I just like basketball. I do want to read some of these texts, because and we have some other older texts that kind of have more to do with what we were talking about in the first hour, and we'll try and get back to those as best we can remember, because some of these are now marked as read, and I have to figure out which ones we actually have and haven't read. 1570 says, if the offensive player is in control, then he won't get injured, and your whole argument is player safety. I mean, John Morant was mostly in control. Giannis Antetokounmpo
You can be
was
in
more
control until you leave your feet, and then somebody else.
And then when you're just trying to draw a charge by jumping in front, because a lot of these
someone
happen.
Jumps in front of you, or sometimes if they challenge you at the rim in an ineffective way, you can still get hurt.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of these charge drawing happens last second, to the point where, by the rules, it says you should be able to jump out of the way, but are you really going to be able to jump out of the way?
Yeah. And the way that so many players know how to Euro step, they can step around and avoid planted players. But
like I said, a lot of these are last second, and so
yeah, that's what makes it so tricky.
Yeah, it is hard. 8003 says, most of the offensive players in control will adjust their path or contort their body to avoid contact. With this mentality, I believe they'll just try to go through the defensive player. If the defensive player is in legal guarding position, they will play good defense and potentially block the shot. Make offensive players go against defensive players. May the best man win.
9938. This topic makes me remember when Karl Malone laid out Isaiah Thomas for driving in the lane.
Should we just go to that? Just let defensive players lay out the offensive player. Just
lead with your elbow.
471. I think I read one text and he added an addendum, and I don't think I read that one, but 471 said, like I said before, just don't be soft. Which, that's what I like. I think drawing charges is soft. I don't know if that's what 471 is saying, but that's what I would say. And just, like I said, play defense. That's what I want people to do. And I know it sounds like I'm saying I'm like hurting defenders, and in a way I am with this proposal, but I just want players to play defense, just like I want offensive players to play offense. That's the end goal. And I said it like 4 or 5 times. That I have to keep saying that because that's just what I want. I want basketball to be played, and foul drawing on offense and defense just doesn't feel like basketball. It's like when soccer players flop, or even when basketball players flop. It's smart. It's effective. You should probably do it, but doesn't mean I like it.
Right, and I like that there's a consequence for flopping.
There kind of isn't. I mean, in basketball, they're creating one.
Yeah.
There needs to be more of a consequence.
I agree. Let's see, a couple other texts that came through unrelated to our discussion about is it a charge or a block?
After we got on that long tangent.
5001. Players are going to go through the portal, and the players will come through the portal. It's just NIL at its worst, and us fans need to adjust to what life is in our college athletics nowadays.
Yeah, and I think we're a step or two away in terms of if we can find some way to just get a bit of a handle on NIL. I don't know what that solution is. The one solution I've come up with is mainly just restricting transfers a bit more. Because we've given everybody a free transfer, and we're starting to get back into, players just can't transfer whenever they want. They can't transfer like 5 times. And I've given my proposal as far as you give a player free transfer in certain situations, but largely, you have to sit out a year to transfer. And I think that would probably do enough to at least get a handle on it. Because there's always going to be people chasing NIL. But the trick is, don't just let them walk out the door at literally any time. And that would help get a handle on it. It would at least, it wouldn't be I think the wild, wild west is the term people like to use.
It's total free agency.
Yeah, and so if you can get a bit of a handle on it.
Unrestricted.
Yeah. And so if you can get, I guess, kind of like a restricted free agency, then it's like you can at least slow it down. Because the problem with it right now is that we have 2,000 people in the transfer portal. If you cut that number in half, I don't think we'd be nearly as upset about it. And I think that should be the goal.
Right. I still think you could leave in certain qualifications. Like if there's a coaching change, I think you have every right to seek a new opportunity.
Yeah.
Because the new coach, not the coach who brought you in, you don't know what your place is going to be in this new system. You should have. If the coach didn't stay, why should you have to stay? If there's a case of abuse that's going on, you shouldn't be stuck there to have to go through that.
Yeah.
You should have an opportunity to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think those two are certainly cases. The 3 that I have come up with, basically, one is a coaching change. One is if you graduate, you can use your last year of eligibility anywhere you want because you fulfilled your commitment. Go have fun.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I thought it was like basically anytime before you become a sophomore. So after you play a true freshman season, or after you redshirt, or after you play a redshirt freshman season. Because, if you're an 18-year-old kid and you find out you made the wrong decision, then, we'll give you a free do-over. But, if you find out that you go to a place and they're not developing you, they're not playing you like you thought they would, okay, we'll give you a do-over.
It's not like what it was sold in your first opportunity to play at that level.
And in those cases, it's not like you're going to run into too many people that are like the Stephen Ashworths and the Max Shulga and Sean Bairstow, where they suddenly have a breakout year and then they dip as fast as possible. Like, there's still going to be some freshmen that'll do that under that consideration. It'd be a bit of a loophole, but it would require you to perform really well as a freshman.
Right.
So it would happen less. And, teams would be allowed to develop their players. Oh, we do need to go to another break. We're behind again. We've been behind the whole show. It's our second break of the hour. We'll be back after this.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
It's finally starting to feel like spring, so let Prodigy Brewing spring a delicious experience of flavor and fun into your world. Enjoy Cache Valley's juiciest burgers, tastiest nachos, flavor-filled wood-fired pizzas, and specialty craft brews. And did you know Prodigy Brewing offers an amazing brunch menu every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Whether it's lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch, let Prodigy Brewing spring you into deliciousness. Book now for upcoming graduation parties. Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
Your local Spence's Pharmacy at 550 East 1400 North is supporting the National Prescription Take-Back Day one day early. Spence's Pharmacy has teamed up with local law enforcement to dispose of any form of medication. Please bring your expired or leftover medication to Spence's Pharmacy between the hours of 10 and 2 p.m. this Friday, April 21st. Keeping your home safe means disposing of any prescription or over-the-counter medications responsibly. And thank you for making Cache Valley and your home a safer place.
Put your logo on a hat, on a t-shirt, a mug, or a water bottle. The Logo Shop can do that. The Logo Shop can logo pens for your business, t-shirts for your crew, uniforms for your school or team. Your logo proudly displayed on hats for your workers, backpacks for your class, jackets for your employees, golf balls for your buddies. They can put your logo on just about anything. Get your spring and summer orders in now to the Logo Shop.
The Logo Shop. The Logo Stop. The Logo Shop.
Looking for a job or career change? Plan to attend the Cache Valley Media Group Job Fair Thursday, April 20th at Castle Manor in Hyde Park from 11 to 6. Turn at 3900 North Highway 91 in Hyde Park. Be prepared to speak with businesses looking for employees now, like Sierra Restoration, JBS USA, CAPSA, USU Care About Kids, Advanced Call Center, JM Mechanical, and more. Better pay, better benefits, better job. Attend the Job Fair Thursday, April 20th from 11 to 6 at Castle Manor in Hyde Park.
Presented by the Cache Valley Media Group.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the full court press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
All right, we're actually probably going to have to take another break here in a minute or so because we're still kind of behind on breaks. We have two more to get in. Wait, no, only one more to get in. Never mind.
Yeah, we should be okay.
Okay. All right, so, we got like 4 or 5 minutes, or 5 or 6 minutes then. We still have some text, so we're transitioning back. We did have one more text about the block charge argument, or just, I don't know, slaughter, because it's everyone on one side and just me standing here being like, but I promise I'm trying to make basketball better.
This came in actually a little while ago, so apologize for taking a minute to get to it. But 4086, transfer portal is killing college football and basketball. I will not be a big fan of either one in the near future. You know me, I'm a big fan. To that point, actually, within the last little while here, speaking of transfers, Utah State transfer Byron Vaughns. A little surprising that it took him a little while to find a landing spot, but I guess patience pays because he is going to Baylor. He is committed to the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, there you go.
And is regarded as the best available defensive end in the transfer portal at this point. So it's a good landing spot for him. I mean, he's going back to the Big 12. He started at Texas, came to Utah State. Now he's back in the state of Texas, but playing for Baylor.
Yeah, I was surprised that it took him that long. I wondered if he kind of ended up waiting too long and all the people who were recruiting him ended up recruiting somebody else instead of him. And they got left
waiting. You miss out on spring and development and learning the coaches and the system. But
yeah, I worried that he was going to get hung high and dry. But it seems like he's found a spot, so we'll look forward to seeing what he does.
4781. But why not have offensive players play defense and vice versa?
I'm not sure what he means by that. I read it. I was like, I don't know.
Why not have offensive players play defense and vice versa? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry. I don't know if that came out the way you were thinking in your head, but
not everybody in the NBA is a true two-way player.
No.
You're going to have some that are better on defense than they are on offense. I mean, today's NBA, you have to be pretty serviceable on offense to even make the league. But there are some who they are more defensive specialists than they are offensive players. Certainly there are far more skilled offensive players than there are skilled defensive players.
And the defensive players aren't allowed to play defense anymore.
Yeah,
which is why people
get their wings clipped a bit.
It's part of why people are heated about me saying take away charges, because that just makes things easier for the offense. But again, it's not just me saying get rid of charges. There's other things wrapped up in that. To the end goal of just let players play basketball, or in some cases make them play. But I know one thing in terms of talking about the transfer portal, and this goes all the way back to the beginning of our show where I talked about how Utah State lost. They've now lost 9 players, and basically most of the rotation players. I mentioned how a lot of teams have lost between 5 and 7-ish players, but usually they brought somebody significant back, somebody in the top 3. And I looked like over the past 10 years, that was the case for every team. Even those that lost like 7, they would at least bring back somebody significant. Well, the one team that's kind of similar to this year, where they lost not only a lot of players, this other team is the 2014-15 Utah State team. They also lost 9 players. And they lost basically most of their, I think it was like 5 of their top 6 players in terms of minutes. So pretty similar. They lost most of their rotation players. They brought like, I think, 1 guy back, and it was some like middle of the rotation guy. And that was the next year. That was the year Jalen Moore, David Collette, was it Chris Smith? I think at guard. They brought in a couple of junior college guards. It was Jalen Moore. He went from, as a freshman, he averaged a decent amount of points, but then a sophomore he averaged like 15. So like they had a year where they lost a bunch of players, and the next year they had a better Mountain West record. In 2013-14, the team went 7-11. They lost 9 players, went 11-7 the next year in the Mountain West. And it's kind of weird because you're not sure if you should set the expectations as far as like, that's what Utah State should try to be, or can they be that good? Can they get to 18 wins? Because it took a lot. It took Jalen Moore becoming a 15-point-per-game guy, jumping from first year to second year. It took having a freshman of the year candidate. I don't think Collette won freshman of the year, but he was certainly a candidate. It took landing 2 junior college guys who played pretty good. It took a couple of other, freshman, sophomore guys playing pretty well. Like, of their top 6 players that year, 4 were either freshmen or sophomores, and 2 were junior college transfers. So it's kind of like weird that they were able to win 18 games with that being their top 6. And so, when I was looking at that, I was like, can this year's team be like that? Can they replicate that where, winning 26 games and going to the NCAA tournament, that's too high of an expectation. You've lost too much.
Right.
You'd have to get so insanely lucky in terms of landing absolute diamonds in the rough in the transfer portal.
NIT, it might still be a possibility. I mean, we've seen this league is good enough to send quite a few teams to the postseason, but the NIT, we still have to wait to see how the rest of this roster comes together. But that, at this point, I mean, looking at how things are today, an NIT appearance would be a remarkable achievement for Coach Sprinkle in his first season.
Yeah, because when Ryan Owen went to the NIT his first year, that was pretty decent, considering some of the things he lost. Sprinkle was losing even more. If he's able to replicate that and go to the NIT again, get 18 to 20 wins, that would be spectacular. But yeah, get in the NCAA tournament, you'd have to not only find 1 diamond in the rough, you'd have to find like 2 or 3. And Utah State, they're going to attract decent players. Nigel Burris, decent player. If they landed, some of these other guys we talked about, they're all decent players, but they'd have to land guys, 1 or 2 guys that can average like in the teens in terms of scoring. I don't know if they have that. You'd have to have at least one of Falslev or Isaac Johnson turn into like a freshman of the year. Or, well, Isaac Johnson would have, I don't know if he'd be a newcomer. Like I said, I don't know if he's eligible. But you basically have to be kind of like that, where a newcomer of the year comes out of nowhere. It's really good. Mason Falslev, a freshman of the year, just something like that.
Generically, Mountain West Award winner.
Yeah, that kind of level as far as just coming out of nowhere. We didn't expect him to be that good, but he was. And you have to have like multiple of those. You can have like one of those on a team usually per year. Utah State would have to have like 3 of them to be like, 26 win. If you have one of them, that can get you to a winning record. And that's fair enough to maybe try and expect from some of these guys. But so it's just going to come we'll see if Danny Sprinkle can land a really good player in the transfer portal. But he's certainly going through a really big test.
Right. It's not just one really good player, but filling an entire roster. Players that complement each other. Players that provide depth. Somebody who's going to provide you energy. Somebody who's going to be the inside guy and an outside guy who can complement each other.
Yeah, an entire cohesive rotation, not plugging gaps, building an entire rotation through, free agency.
Right, that plays complementary basketball.
All right, we got to take another break. When we come back, we'll finish up the show here on 106.9 The Fan.
This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. We have been a locally owned and operated family business since 1970. Daryl's offers you the most experienced service team in northern Utah and southern Idaho. Our service, sales, parts, and warranty departments enable us to be your one-stop appliance shop. We promise to give you the best quality service to get you and your appliance up and running quickly. Our huge parts department has the right part when you need it. Remember, shop local for the best-selling appliances and service in the business. Daryl's west on Airport Road.
Spring will get here, and when it does, those old rusted-out vehicles need to be moved. Call DD Auto and Salvage and let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
And now, the Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
Why is it gamesmanship with Caitlin Clark, but we're asking the LSU girls to have sportsmanship? Let's not get caught up in just that moment there. Angel Reese chose to celebrate that way. That's on her. And they won because of their bench. The bench outscored Iowa 30-8. That's the difference here.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan and the Danettes and you.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 10 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Spring has sprung, and so have the deals at Murdoch Chevrolet.
Ready for a season of adventure? Get behind the wheel of a brand new car during our spring sales event.
Right now, receive 0% for 4 years on a 2023 Silverado.
When you walk through our doors, you feel like family.
At Murdoch Chevrolet in Logan and Woods Cross or online at murdochchev.com.
Chevrolet, find new roads.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 5/1/23.
When it comes to your eyeglasses, a discount shop may not be your best answer. Do you really want to look like everyone else? Crystal Vision, a Best of Northern Utah 2-time gold medalist, curates brands that are made in smaller batches, not mass-produced. Crystal Vision's glasses are made from the highest quality materials and components and feature interesting styles and color combinations, rather than buying mass, cheap-produced frames overseas. Your glasses will feel like they were made for you. Crystal Vision, online at crystalvision.com.
You may have heard that Schreiber Foods call their employees partners. Why? Because our partners own the business. You see, Schreiber Foods is the largest dairy company in the world to still be privately owned. And when you own something, you treat it differently. You help others. You care about your team. You don't answer to anyone outside the company or an investor that has no interest in you or the business. So if you're looking for stable employment, ready to be a part of and own something bigger, visit schreiberfoods.com/careers.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Final minute or so of the Full Court Press. Had a pretty exciting show. Got into some discussions. Talked about the news, some of the Utah State news, Ryland Jones entering the portal, Byron Vaughn committing to Baylor. Some other stuff. I don't know.
It's gone by fast.
Yeah, it did.
It's good to be back in the chair.
we
Haven't been
got-
in the chair very much the last 2 weeks.
You can tell how good the discussions work because we kept forgetting to go to our breaks. We reluctantly went to our breaks. Like, okay, we got to finally go to commercials.
And you guys are awesome. You know, it's we'll come to the show with some ideas like of topics to discuss, but we always leave it open to give you the chance to kind of lead the discussion a little bit. And the text messages, the feedback in real time is always super fun. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, I always love interacting with texters. Even today when they're all disagreeing with me, it's just like it just fires me up.
I am Jason Walker, and this is my mountain.
I have the microphone.
I will die on this mountain.
I will die on this mountain speaking into the microphone the whole time.
NBA playoffs going on tonight. Grizzlies leading the Lakers up by 6 in the first quarter. Heat are at the Bucks. Milwaukee is favored in this one, even though Giannis is questionable. And then on the nightcap on TNT, it's the Nuggets hosting the Timberwolves. Denver favored by 8.5.
And last time that game was the nightcap, it wasn't a very good game. So
no.
Hopefully this one will be better.
Help put me to sleep.
I didn't finish the game, but thank you so much again, everyone, for listening. We'll be back at it tomorrow with more Utah State. Maybe somebody else will enter the portal, and we'll talk about it then. But have a good night, everyone.
Aunque no estás hoy a mi lado, yo sé que tú vas a llegar. Los girasoles nunca dejan de girar.
My name is Luis Fonse. A lot of people don't know enough about Alzheimer's and dementias. We've seen it in movies, we all know somebody, but there's a lot of information that people still don't know. I'm personally still learning so much about it. I would say to those people who have loved ones who are going through it, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to put it out in the open because it will be better for them and for their loved ones.
Con la certeza que respiro, te amaré.
Resources are available at alz.org and by calling the Alzheimer's Association's 24